Well, hello everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It's almost 9 o'clock in the morning here on the 30th day of January 2023. We are not quite into February yet, but we are close to wrapping up the month. We've got about another 36 hours or so left in the month. And what I'd like to do is, again, like to take a look at our good friend Bitcoin here. And before I get into all of this, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your risk, doing your own research. And this is just my opinion on the market. So let's go ahead and take a look at the chart. I'm on a daily time frame here. I'm looking at just a couple things. So what I want to point out is back in late December, we were looking at a few things. I want to discuss one of the reasons why I was so bullish at the end of December before January even started. So first things first, looking here at the chart, what I guess I want to focus on is, we had, a nice buy on the daily time frame here. I'm focusing here on the daily because, I was sort of looking months ahead or trying to look months ahead here. So I was looking at these daily buys, and we had a daily buy here. And the price started to do a little bit of an uptick. And as the price was going up, the other thing that I noticed was we had a squeeze that was going on. Okay, we had a squeeze that lasted for weeks, and it was pretty tight squeeze that we were in. That was after a massive move down. And so once these Bollinger Bands, which you can see in the background here that's shaded with this white color, once they started to contract, the price really kind of stayed inside of it pretty well. But what we ended up seeing is, we saw the price move back down into basically the same range that it was all the way back here when we had these buy signals. All right. And then when we got back down here into this range, what we started to see, and this was going into the end of the year, right? Once we got to this range right here, we had a bullish cross on the red wave here on the on the daily, which goes out several weeks as far as a time span goes. So the white wave and the red wave are longer term signals, and when they start to print bullish, which you can see by this lime green candle, which is probably pretty hard to see, but once you see this, we had one right here, we had one right here, we had one right here. So there were a few indications that we were creating a little bit of a bottom. So we got into some long positions. One of the big winners that we had was near. We had a really great playoff of that. But now that we're here, what I want to focus on is, okay, what's going to happen next? So far, the daily candle right now does not look great. All right, so we have probably the largest red candle that we've had in quite some time. So down 642 points. When was the last time we were down 642 points? This candle was only down 444. This candle right here, 719. This candle, 436. So we haven't seen a candle like this so far. And again, there's still 10 hours left in the day. There's still plenty of time to go by. But we really haven't seen price action like this since December 16th. And it was shortly thereafter that I started to get a little bullish. Now, right now is a little different than back then. Price action right now is a lot different than it was back then. And what I mean by that is, back here in this price range, everybody was looking for new lows. Everybody was talking about new lows. And, we had this, and, even I was talking about, we're probably going to go a little lower. It took me a couple days to realize that's not what's going to happen, and I started to get bullish. And so, therefore, I started to get into some long positions. And again, that was in, late December, getting into some long positions here. Now, we're up here. So this is what's different today versus back then. So right now, everybody is looking for new highs. Everybody is looking for new highs. So I have been making a statement for a while now which I didn't coin myself, right? There's actually somebody on the server that brought this up initially. And that's basically sellers, what do? They make new highs. Buyers, what do? Well, they make new lows, okay? When we were down here, right, you had sellers. And what these sellers were trying to push the price down. But the problem was we had a massive short squeeze because of sellers. Okay? And no, I don't think that the price is going to just come all the way back down here. I don't believe that's going to be the case at all. But we are in a buyer market right now. From a semi-retail standpoint, I still believe that there are a lot of people that still think that crypto is a scam, which it is, and that they are not willing to put any kind of capital into cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin. But now everybody wants new highs. There's a lot of people that are long. I even have some longs open right now, but I'm looking to manage some of that risk. There's been plenty of winners along the way that any loss that we take up here is not going to have a huge net effect on any P&L that we've had over the last month and a half or so. But now that we're here, everybody wants to buy. Everybody wants to buy. So what does that mean? That means we're either close to, or we have already created a little bit of a top. And I want to talk about this, and I want to drill down just a little bit into what the what the structure looks like. So I'm going to go over here to this chart, and I want to talk about the hourly time frame. I've got the hourly time frame here, and I'm taking a look at an Elliott wave count. All right, so what we've got here, we've got a nice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a nice 5-wave structure up. And yes, there is a little bit of invalidation here. So I'm looking at this in terms of a diagonal of sorts, taking this low right here, pulling it up there, and then, of course, taking this guy right here and pulling it in this way. So we have, in my opinion, a little bit of a leading diagonal here. At the time when we were having this formation, I was talking about there being a top up here, and a lot of people are like, nope, we're going to keep going higher. Buyers create new lows, and we ended up moving down, really as I expected. But now, again, I'm looking at this, and now I'm looking at it as a 5-wave move, and then we had a steep correction off of that to get down here into this low at about 16,207, which you can see by this fib pull that I've got right here. Because what I'm doing is I'm measuring, at least I'm trying to measure a wave 3 to find out where wave 4 is going to land. And now that we've gotten where we are, let's go ahead and just take a couple measurements here to see if we can make some sense of this. We have our dominant pivot low, we have our dominant pivot high right there, and then we got our little bit of a pullback right here. So where's the 1618? Well, the 1618 is right here at this level, which I'm going to go ahead and mark out for you. That's going to be right here, that level right there. Okay, so we've got that level right there, which actually is where we had a bit of a poke. Now, it did continue moving up and through here. So there is a possibility. There is a possibility that this wave 3 is actually back here. This wave 4 is actually back here. And then we completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to complete the entire wave structure. I don't believe that that is the case. And there's a couple reasons why. All right, first off, let's go ahead and just, clear this out. We've talked about this. We're good there. First off, the time it took to complete wave 1 is, it took a little bit of time for that to happen. We went all the way from November 21st all the way through December 14th. So that was like roughly 3 weeks or so that it took to complete this price action. This wave 2 happened very quickly. It went from the 14th of December all the way through the 19th of December. Only 5 days, but 5 days. So we would expect that wave 4, right? So this is measuring wave 2. We would expect wave 4 to take longer than 5 days. Well, how long did this take, right? So we've got here the 13th, and then we've got here the 18th. So that was also 5 days. We would really expect it to take longer. What does match, I'll just make this point, what does match is this was a deep retrace, and this was barely any retrace. But let's go ahead and put the 2618 on this fib pull. So let's go ahead and put that guy on there. That's up here at about 25,615. I was kind of expecting a move up a little bit higher than where we are. But I realized last night when I closed out my position on Solana, I realized that we were getting to a point where we were kind of overextending a little bit. And I saw some warning signs that we were going to see a little bit of a pivot to the downside. Which leads me to going back to a 15-minute time frame, taking a look at this price action here. This looks corrective, right? So this is a three-wave move up after a three-wave move down. So what I've got here really no longer matches so much. So I'm now looking at this as potential for a 1, 2, and then a 3 here, and then a 4 here, and then we've got our extension here into wave 5. And again, it's possible that this 4 actually goes all the way out here, but nonetheless, I'm looking at that move there as being, being the potential for a top, and then we have this, A, B, and then working on the wave C, but that's not going to be the completion of this, I don't believe. All right, so if we did create a little bit of a top, and I think it's very, very possible that we did, what's really going to matter is what happens going into Wednesday. If we continue to decline going into Wednesday, then we have to consider what's going to happen with FOMC, which is also on Wednesday. But looking at things right now on a 15-minute time frame, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, and I'm going to take a look at the Wavemaster Pro. We've got some indications that we should be buying down here. When was the last time we had buying on this heat map the way that it looks right now? Well, it was right around here. And again, if you take a look at the price action, it was all the way down here before we did have a little bit of a thrust to the upside. And again, I was getting long here, mostly because of the potential that we were going to have this up thrust going into the weekend. And that's really exactly what happened. We closed out of some long positions, and we took really great profit on those Bitcoin long positions that we were at, because risk was pretty well defined. We had a channel that we were watching, and it really made a whole lot of sense. But now we've broken out of that channel, so really the risk is to the upside, and really the reward is looking at it a little bit more to the downside. Now, I do say that we're probably going to get a move up going into maybe the next 24 hours, looking at the end of the month here. And really, that's what this is titled. It's the end of the month report. So what I'm going to do, I want to go back to the other chart, and I want to take a look at a couple things. All right, so this is on the daily, right? I want to focus on where our demand zone is, right? So we've got a strong demand zone down here between about 18.9 and 20,001, okay? So between 18.9 and 20,100, there's a strong demand zone. Do I think it's going to get down there? Actually, I don't. I don't think it's going to get down that low. If it does, that's fantastic. I mean, I think that would be great if it did get down that low. But what we do have to contend with is this price action right here. So I would expect that if we get down here into this zone, we're probably going to find a little bit of support. Probably going to find a lot of support here. So are we going to get down that low? Maybe. We'll see. We're definitely probably, I guess it definitely probably isn't really the words you want to hear me use. More than likely, we're not going to see prices break down below 19,000. I think it's very, very probable that we are going to continue to rise going into, say, May and June. But I think we are going to get a little bit of a significant pullback going into probably the next couple weeks. So again, this is going to take some time, and we'll have to watch and see how this pans out. But taking a look at those support zones that I've talked about, this strong demand right here, this strong demand right here, taking a fib pull from this dominant pivot low right here to this high that we have currently made, you can see that the 50% is right inside of that strong demand. I'm not interested in the 50. I'm really interested in the 382, and I'm interested in the 236. The 236 doesn't have a whole lot of confluence along with it. The only thing that the 236 has, which is at 21,852, what that has is that's got a little bit of support back here, a little bit of support over here on these highs, right? I was looking at candle bodies, but the 236 happens to fall in alignment with these wicks to the upside. And again, this was all the way back in like, June, July, and August. But the 382 is right at the bottom of this demand zone here, which, happens to be where the bottom of this cluster is. It also happens to be at the bottom of this wick right here, the bottom of this right here. So we do have a lot of really decent confluence that 382 is going to be an area that's going to have to be contended with. Now, again, what's going to be the upside after that? Well, I've got the negative 50 on there, but let me throw the negative 236 and the negative 382 on here. All right, so let me go ahead and configure these. So we're going to put 0.236 and then put the negative on because TradingView doesn't like you putting it on before the fact. 382, throw the negative on there. And these are going to be where I'm going to be looking for targets. I'm really not going to pay too much attention to the negative 50. I'm going to pay attention to these guys, which is going to be at about 26.3 and 27.9. Now let's zoom out just a little bit more. What do we have here at this negative 382? Well, clearly what we can see is we've got significant confluence, significant price confluence right here, which is going to be at about 28,700. We've got significant price confluence, which is going to be right here at about 31,350. Now, are we going to get up that high? Chances are pretty good. Not right now. Are we eventually going to get there? Yeah, I think we are. Based on the price structure that we have right now, I do think we're probably going to get that high, but it's not going to be likely in this cycle. You're going to have to wait until like May or June before the price action actually gets up that high. It's hard to believe that we're talking about potentially Bitcoin getting back up into the 30s, but I do think that there is significant potential that is what could happen. Now, again, pulling back here would make a whole lot of sense, and I'm just going to make it as crystal clear as possible. If we have the potential for, right from down here, this 1, this 2, and then if we've got the wave 3, that maybe the wave 3 has completed, we should be moving down here either to the 236 or the 382. Since the wave 3 would have overextended, I do think that we're probably going to come back down here to this 382, and then we go up for wave 5. And of course, this is going to be on a higher degree, but this is where I think price action is more than likely going to go. How long is it going to take? Well, I think this wave 4 is probably going to complete before or sometime around Valentine's Day. That again is going to be a cycle that I've been talking about Valentine's Day as a cycle date for quite some time now. And so that being the cycle date for that, and then we go up for wave 5. After that happens, now what a lot of people talk about is, you should be always looking for a good wave 2. Trading a wave 4 into a wave 5, that's great. But what you should be really looking for is a good, solid wave 2. So let's just pretend for a moment that Bitcoin stops at 26,284 right on the nose. Well, what we're then going to be looking for is at least a 50% pullback, right? That's assuming we get here to this negative 236, and that's where we stop. That 50% pullback is at 20,153, assuming that is the top. Where does that fall in alignment with? Well, we've got this zone right here at the 50 and the 618. The 618 is going to be right there. The 50 is going to be right there at the bottom and at the top of this strong demand zone. I'll pull that out because if we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what you're going to be looking for is a wave 2. From up here, A, B, C, right? How it's going to actually pan out, we're going to have to just kind of wait and see. Watch these zones, watch these levels. But once we get this ABC down here into a larger degree wave 2 or a larger degree wave B, then you can play either wave 3 or wave C. Now, are we going to go up to new all-time highs? Probably not. Probably not. This rally that we've had is fueled by short sellers that have been squeezed out of their position. So naturally, what's going to happen is the market is going to be unrelenting to those that are long, right? Anybody that's been long late, and then probably going to come back down here, give, a couple of weeks now. We still have about 2 weeks until Valentine's Day. And then we take this sharp rally to the upside going into maybe March, and then we have a little bit of a correction. Again, We're going to have to take this one day at a time. I can't predict the future, but this is the path that I see as the most probable based on what the price action looks like up to today. All right, that's about all that I'd like to cover at the moment. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, you know the deal. Like, subscribe, share. If you need access to our indicator, we've got our WaveMaster indicator. We have our volume analysis. I'm working on a momentum-based indicator, and I'm also working on the WaveMaster Pro, which is almost ready for release. If you need access to those, you can find that information on BitDoctor.org, which also gives you information on how to access our insured area. It also discusses our education. It discusses our trade ideas and all of that. And if you need access to our community area on the Discord, you can find that information inside of the video description. And last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.